Hello everyone, this is my short demo about Vim and how I use it. Why should anyone use Vim today? It's a really old editor, but it's available everywhere, nearly. Each web server which runs Linux or other form of Unix most likely has it pre-installed. And you can really extend it to your liking. You can really configure it as you want and use plugins so that it gets really good to work with. For me, it's an editor which I think supports me very efficiently in my work. And of course, there are plenty of other editors out there which are really good. But this talk is about Vim, and I'll show you how I use it. I did a short survey about which editor people are using out there. Thanks for everyone who participated. I will just open it and look at the results. Yep. I have some problems with the display. Unfortunately, I can't mirror it or something, so I have to work on the screen there. This is what I was asking for. There are some popular editors. For sure, there are some missing, and I actually find the results very interesting. Most of the people who participated said they're using Vim as their favorite editor, which is that actually surprised me because I thought most people are using Sublime these days. This is the second largest group, and one is using TextMate. Yeah, it's still a good editor, I guess. PyCharm, only 8 people are using it. I would love to look a bit into it. I've heard that it's a really good Python editor. Then Emacs, 5 people. And Atom, this is also something which surprised me. Even 5 people using it as a main editor. And which is this one? Vim IDE. I was very happy about this submission because I was using Vim IDE once, and Vim IDE is actually very nice for editing Python, for doing Python projects. It has really good code completion support, and so this is something which I missed for years in Vim, but now I get around to it and have a solution so that I have something similar also in Vim. Actually not code completion, but jumping to a definition of a code, which is more important for me in my opinion. Yeah. So let's go through the talk. A naked Vim is hardly usable for me. I mean, I'm not a core Vim user or something. I have a lot of key bindings which really hardcore Vim users for sure would not use or so. For example, I have a console and A just to mark everything because I was sick about this long command I had to type otherwise. And I'm using the cursor keys a lot, not H, J, K, and L, how others are doing it. And let's start Vim without any configuration, so that I can show you which problems I have with Vim when it's not configured. The .vimrc here is actually more or less empty. I want to load some things just to see how with these basic commands you can make it work much nicer. And now I go to insert mode and edit something, and I use the cursor keys now, and you see it doesn't do exactly what I'm expecting. And the backspace key does not work, but I can insert something. Does deletion work? Actually, I have a hard time to move around. Yeah, it's not actually the way I like to work with Vim. So I quit this without saving and do the set no compatible setting. If you write in your command line SO and the %sign, then this file is loaded, provided I have saved it. I have to save it before. Unfortunately, you cannot see my keystrokes because of the monitor setup. And now, if I go into insert mode again, I can move around with the cursor as I'm used it from other editors. So this is, in my opinion, a very important setting. Then, which I found annoying when I started with Vim was if I copy something with yank, I copy the whole line and I can paste it somewhere multiple times. But now if I delete just one sign, then this sign is now in my copy register, and I yanked just this one sign, and I was really annoyed about that one because I often delete something and had still something to paste somewhere. So I undo all these things now, and if you do this setting, normal mode, no remap, the delete key to the black hole register, then this doesn't happen anymore. So if I now delete something, to copy again something and delete just some signs, I still should have, oh, I forgot, no, I do not. I forgot to load the Vim settings. So again, this is my yank buffer. Now to delete some signs and try to paste again what I copied before, and it works as I expected. So this is another thing.
Does that map the X key as well, or just the delete key?
The X key, which one is it?
Delete with X. You don't delete with X?
You
No?
can use X to delete.
Yeah.
On the X on the keyboard. No, as I said, I'm using my own keystrokes like I was used from other editors.
So try deleting a character with X and see.
Yeah, in command mode you can delete with X.
But I mean,
delete the whole line with double D.
try if it's now in the buffer.
Yeah,
Also, we go to the buffer now.
Yes, when you delete
Oh,
a
yeah.
line it goes.
it is, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think you can remap it anyway.
Remap what? Yeah, like I do. I use the delete key because this is what it's for. But I guess if you use all those built-in keys from Vim, the standard configuration, then you might be more efficient in typing as well. But that was not the main focus. I just wanted to be productive very quickly. Then you can set syntax on, and you get syntax highlighting.
So now we can't read it.
Yeah, let's.
You set the background to target.
I want to do it now.
Is there a different syntax highlighting and works better on background? Is there a different syntax highlighting available?
Yeah, sure. There are a lot of different color schemes. But here in this configuration where I did not load my whole Vim configuration, I don't have this available. Then with set number, set cursor line, and set color column, you get some other nice things. Here now you have a row which shows you on which row your cursor actually is, and the color column on the side is shows you the 80 character border, and you get those numbers on your Vim editor, showing you the line number. But let's switch back to my Vim configuration. On this GitHub page, I have my Vim configuration available, and I borrowed a lot from Log Gabas, and just in case you want to look it up and use it. If you Vim uses on Linux vimrc file, which is loaded first when you start Vim. And I pointed to the .vim directory, and it looks like this. I have my configuration split onto different files, and I source them. Can you read it actually? Can everyone read it? Yeah? Okay. And the Python config Vim file is something I want to show later. This parses Python paths from my build-out directory, so that I can use it for YEDI, which I use for not actually code completion, but jumping to definitions of statements. And I use a lot of plugins and configure those plugins in a separate file. I use a file chooser which is called Ranger, which I really like. Actually, I use it not that lot, but it's an alternative to choose files to other options. And this is the main configuration of Vim, and the key maps I have them in a separate file so that I can look up different key mappings very quickly. Yeah?
Can you repeat the stuff about Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing for Jedi?
Jedi is, I use it for, it's an auto-completion library which...
You said you do something specific, so it includes stuff from your build-out.
Yeah. I want to come to that back later.
We only have
Yeah.
a few minutes left.
Just how many?
Like 3.
3, really? Oh shit.
It's a short demo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started
Yeah.
some minutes later. Okay. Let's go to the Python config. This start with Jedi in that case. This is a script which I wrote which parses a Python paths file which is in the bin directory of my build-out, and it adds these Python paths to the Python interpreter which Vim uses, so YEDI can import those Python definitions from there. And for example, if I go to project, and start Vim here. Sorry. And open up a file. Sorry, this is just the wrong thing. Now I should be able to jump to the definition, for example, of Plone autoform directives order after. It does not always work, but okay, this worked. So I actually, the other way around would just to search in the file system, which was really cumbersome, and I'm happy that it works now most of the times. So you will find the whole configuration in the GitHub directory I have shown you before. And just as a hint, sometimes you have to go to the file system. If you use Linux, then there's a cache .cache directory in the home directory, and sometimes you just have to remove the Yedi directory in there. There's actually yeah, but let's show off some plugins very quickly. This is something I wanted to do before. For example, in Vim there is minimap. If you like this feature from Sublime, you can use a minimap in Vim also. You see it on this side.
It starts to look like Sublime.
Yeah. Of course, you can use built-in features like forwarding of code and so on. What else? Something important. I have to go back to another instance of the editor, and here open up auto format, samples, and JavaScript. It has quite. I use Vim auto format for auto formatting code, and here, for example, you have some minified JavaScript code, and with auto format you get actually something which looks quite nicely. Auto format is. I shouldn't have opened up this file, but. This on the side is the nerd tree, which I often use. I use a plugin manager which is called Vim Plug, and the auto format plugin is here. And you can in the defaults file you all the auto formats are configured. For example, for JavaScript, default JS25 or JSCS or whatever is actually available on the system is used to auto format code. And what I really like is the code linting feature of Syntactic, which is a very essential plugin. 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Thank you. And sorry, code linting plugin. For example, if I open up a test.py file, which has a lot of errors or just linting errors in there, it just shows me what is not PEP 8 compatible. I use actually Flake 8 as the linting library. And for example, here it just tells me that date, time to date is imported but unused, so I can just remove it. Or here I have some spaces which are actually tabs which should be removed. And also I can auto format this code. And with a key combination of leader and I use isort to sort the imports, and that's actually quite helpful sometimes. Another nice feature is if you open up a JSON file and have it written in just one line, you can use external tools to format your buffer, and it's written back to the buffer, and it's done like that. percent, which uses the whole file, then the exclamation mark, with which you can use external tools, then I use Python -m and JSON.tool, and it should format me like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was unfortunately a little less time than I hoped I had, but I hope you got something from that.
Would you mind showing us the URL to your
Mhm.
repo?
I will post it somewhere, like tweet it, github.com/tat.files.vim. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.